Hello, my name is Paul Stewart and I'm in Wollongong, Australia's 10th largest city and home to the HARS Aviation Museum, which, as you can see behind me, has their own Boeing 747. Now today I'm testing out a new airline called Fly Corporate, who have a fleet of Saab 340s, one of which you can see behind me, on a new route that they have from here in Albion Park, Wollongong, through to Melbourne Essendon.
My journey began at Albion Park train station, which is approximately a 15-minute walk from the airport. There's also a bus service that runs to the airport, or you can simply drive there. There's plenty of time-limited parking, although you can park your car in this locked section for around $12 per day. Here's our aircraft, a Saab 340B+. This aircraft type was first introduced in 1984, although this particular B+ model rolled off the Swedish assembly line in 1994 and comes with active noise and vibration reduction. According to Wikipedia, 210 of them are still flying around the world, and it's gained a reputation for being a sturdy and reliable regional airliner. As you can see from this footage, it's powered by two turboprop engines, and while these are slower than the jets, they use less fuel. This makes sense when you consider that the aircraft was planned just after the 1973 fuel crisis. Unfortunately, this means that the Saabs take around 15 to 20 minutes longer to fly down to Melbourne than the Embraers that used to fly from Wollongong. It's pretty basic inside the terminal, although the council have just announced plans to expand it in the near future. As I arrived early, I headed over to the museum next door to grab a quick bite. While you do have to pay to see all of the aircraft in there, access to the cafe is free. Then it was back to the terminal after grabbing a few shots of the Saab through this retired 747-400. On board, there's two pilots and one flight attendant looking after the 34 passengers. The seats are in a 1-2 layout, so if you're travelling alone, you might as well sit on the left-hand side. If you're travelling in a 4 and must sit next to each other, then the back row is for you. I'll go through seat 10A in a little more detail. Above is an air vent, which I particularly appreciate as I enjoy cool air blowing over my head during the flight. Behind the seat in front is the usual fold-down table and a cup holder, which was quickly filled with a cool bottle of water. The legroom is perfectly adequate, and of course there's a view outside, which you'll be seeing more of shortly. The engines were powered up and we headed for the runway, and again we got a great view of this retired jumbo. The museum offered detailed tours where you can crawl through the entire aircraft and play with the controls on the flight deck. If you're an av geek, you must add this to your bucket list. Now sit back and enjoy the views as we take off. Fly a big circle over the airport and then head south towards Melbourne. I'll speed through some of it and upload the full takeoff footage in a separate video, and I'll put a link to that in the video description below. Shortly after we reached our cruising altitude, complimentary snacks were provided. There was actually a reasonable amount to choose from, including hot and cold drinks. There were even a packet of nuts, which made me feel like I'm flying in Korean Air first class. Now if you look closely, you'll get a glimpse of Canberra Airport. For my international viewers, Canberra is Australia's nursing home, where we send our old people to go and argue about how things were better back in their day, when they were creating debt and unsustainable pension schemes for their grandchildren to pay off. From memory, the first officer said we were cruising at around 13,000 feet, which is quite a bit lower than the usual 737s and A320s. Unfortunately, this meant that we had to fly through some of the rough weather, which made for some rather exciting turbulence. Now the flight attendant was really great, making sure we were all still comfortable and gave us lids for our hot drinks. Once things settled down, I figured I might visit the loo, which was an experience. For reference sake, I'm 182 centimeters and was struggling to fit in there. One rather unfortunate surprise was the lack of a tap and sink. Instead, they provide an alcohol-free hand sanitizer. I'd certainly be visiting the toilet before leaving the airport terminal and keeping this for emergencies only. On the walk back to my seat, I checked to ensure that the propeller had remained attached and enjoyed the view as the clouds cleared just west of the Alpine National Park. Now I figure there's two major types of people watching this video. The first are av geeks keen to see what it's like to fly this route, while there's others who are considering taking this flight. For the latter, the alternative would be flying out of Sydney, so I'll compare this flight with that option. The main obvious advantage of Fly Corporate is that you avoid the several-hour journey of either catching the train or driving up and parking at Sydney. Even if the Saab takes an extra 20 minutes, the time saved getting to and from the airport would easily make it a shorter trip overall. I have to be honest and say that the aircraft themselves, whilst reasonably sturdy, are small turboprops, which means that they're loud, and because they cruise at a much lower altitude, they're unable to fly over rough weather. So the lower altitude and the aircraft's small size did make for a few dramatic bumps, which you may have picked up in some of my footage. The single crew member looking after us was really great and regularly checked that we were doing fine. I might also add that the previous airline, JetGo, had issues with bad weather in Wollongong, forcing them to divert their Embraer jets to Canberra or Sydney, although I've been told that this isn't an issue as these Saabs are actually able to land in rough weather. Now that might make for a dramatic landing, but it would be still worth it as to avoid a several-hour bus trip from Canberra or Sydney. So in the end, it comes down to a simple question. Do you want to risk a rougher flight to save a few hours of time? I personally didn't mind the Fly Corporate Sub 340 and would happily fly with them again. But if you're terrified of turbulence, you'll probably need to spend a few more hours commuting to and from Sydney Airport and catching a larger jet. If you enjoyed this flight report or found it useful, be sure to click the thumbs up button and comment below if you have any questions. Check out my channel for more similar videos and find me on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you another time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Melbourne Essendon. Please remain seated with your seatbelts firmly fastened until the aircraft has come to a complete stop and the captain has switched off the fasten seatbelt sign.
Good afternoon. Enjoy your afternoon. Thank you, Mrs. Stewart.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you on board.
Yes,
Just
thanks.
let your head on the way up for me.
Thank you.
Right, ready, done.